Imagine carrying someone you love for miles, watching them suffer every single day, knowing there is nothing you can do to change their life. Now imagine hearing that one man, a man called Jesus, has the power to heal the impossible. Would you fight through an impossible crowd just to reach him? Would you risk everything, even tearing open the roof of a stranger's house, for one chance at a miracle? Today, we journey into one of the most extraordinary moments in the life of Jesus Christ, a miracle so astonishing that it left an entire city speechless. But what happened that day was far greater than the healing of a broken body. It revealed something the world had never seen before: the authority to forgive sins. This is the story of faith that refused to give up. The city that could not stop talking about Jesus' morning slowly awakened over the hills surrounding Capernaum. The first rays of sunlight reflected across the peaceful waters of the Sea of Galilee, painting the shoreline with brilliant shades of gold and amber. Fishing boats gently drifted back toward the harbor after a long night upon the lake. Merchants unlocked their small wooden shops. Children laughed as they chased one another through the narrow streets. Women carried clay jars toward the village well, while the smell of freshly baked bread drifted through the cool morning air. For many people, it seemed like an ordinary day, but beneath the peaceful rhythm of village life, something extraordinary was happening. News had begun spreading faster than anyone could imagine. People whispered in marketplaces. Travelers carried the story from one village to another. Even fishermen returning from the sea spoke of only one name: Jesus. The teacher from Nazareth had returned. Wherever he traveled, the impossible seemed to become possible. The blind opened their eyes. The deaf heard sounds they had never heard before. Those imprisoned by evil spirits walked away in peace. The sick recovered. The broken found hope. Everywhere Jesus went, lives were being changed. And now, he was back in Capernaum. The news spread through the streets like wildfire. He has returned. Jesus is here. Come quickly. Within minutes, people began leaving everything behind. Carpenters laid down their tools. Merchants closed their shops. Fishermen abandoned their nets. Farmers left their fields. No one wanted to miss the opportunity to hear the teacher whose words carried the very authority of heaven. Before long, crowds poured toward a modest house where Jesus had entered. The streets became increasingly crowded. Families hurried through narrow alleyways. Parents carried children upon their shoulders. Neighbors helped elderly relatives navigate the growing crowd. Every doorway filled with people. Every nearby window became occupied. Soon, there was no room left inside. No room beside the entrance. Not even enough space to stand outside. Yet people continued arriving. Some came seeking healing. Others longed for answers. Many simply desired to see Jesus with their own eyes. Inside the house, Jesus began teaching. His voice was calm, steady, filled with compassion. Unlike the religious teachers many had known, Jesus did not speak merely to impress his listeners. Every word carried life. Every sentence revealed the heart of God. The room remained completely silent. Every person listened intently. No one realized that another story was quietly unfolding beyond the crowded streets. A story that would soon become one of the greatest demonstrations of faith ever recorded. A friend who could not walk. Not far from the crowded house, a man lay upon a simple woven mat. His body had long ago lost the strength to carry him. His legs remained motionless. His hands trembled as he looked toward the small window beside him. Every morning, he watched other people begin their day. Children running, neighbors working, fishermen carrying heavy nets. Life moved forward for everyone else. but not for him. For years, his world had been limited to the few places someone else was willing to carry him. He depended on the kindness of others for nearly everything: food, water, shelter, even the ability to step outside beneath the warm sunlight. Every day brought the same painful question: would today be any different? Would he ever walk again? The physicians had offered little hope. Friends had done everything they could. Nothing had changed. Yet, despite years of disappointment, he was not alone. God had surrounded him with something precious: faithful friends. Not acquaintances, not neighbors who occasionally visited. True friends. Friends who refused to abandon him. Friends who carried not only his weight, but also his sorrow. That very morning, they too had heard the incredible news. Jesus was in Capernaum. One of them hurried through the doorway, breathless, eyes filled with excitement. He has returned. Another friend immediately understood. The teacher? The answer came without hesitation. Yes. Silence filled the small room. Every heart knew exactly what this meant. If anyone could change their friend's life, it was Jesus. Without wasting another moment, they carefully lifted the corners of the woven mat. One man at each corner. Their burden was heavy. The streets would be crowded. The journey would not be easy. But faith often begins where comfort ends. Step by step, they carried their friend through the winding streets of Capernaum. None of them knew what awaited them, but every step carried one simple hope. If they could only bring him to Jesus, everything might change. The narrow streets of Capernaum had become almost impossible to pass. Every path leading toward the house was filled with people. Some stood on stones, hoping to catch a glimpse through the windows. Others stretched their necks, listening carefully to every word Jesus spoke from inside. The crowd continued to grow. People arrived from nearby villages. Some had traveled for hours. Others had walked for days. No one wanted to miss the opportunity to see the teacher whose name had spread throughout Galilee. Meanwhile, 4 determined men carried their friend through the crowded streets. Sweat rolled down their faces beneath the growing heat of the morning sun. Their arms ached from supporting the weight of the woven mat. Yet none of them complained. Each step brought them closer to the one they believed could change everything. At last, the house came into view. Hope filled their hearts. But as they drew nearer, that hope quickly met an unexpected obstacle. The entrance was completely blocked. People stood shoulder to shoulder. There wasn't enough room to move, not even enough space to place the mat upon the ground. One of the friends called out politely, "Please, our friend cannot walk. May we pass?" A few people turned their heads. Some looked with sympathy. Others simply shrugged. There was nowhere to move. The crowd was too large. Another friend tried from a different side of the house. Again, no opening. Every doorway was crowded. Every window surrounded. Every possible entrance was sealed by people eager to hear Jesus. For a brief moment, the 4 men stood silently. Their breathing was heavy. Their friend looked into their faces. He saw the disappointment in their eyes. Perhaps this was the end of the journey. Perhaps they had come all this way, only to return home exactly as they had left. The paralyzed man lowered his head. He had known disappointment before. He understood what it felt like when hope slipped away. Maybe, he thought quietly, this miracle simply wasn't meant for him. But his friends refused to surrender. One of them looked upward. His eyes rested upon the flat roof of the house. An unusual thought entered his mind. What if we cannot go through the door? The others followed his gaze. In those days, many homes were built with flat roofs, supported by wooden beams and covered with layers of branches, clay, and packed earth. Outside stairways often led to the rooftop. People used these roofs for prayer, rest, and evening conversations beneath the stars. The idea seemed impossible. Climb onto the roof, with a grown man lying on a mat. The crowd would surely think they were foolish. The homeowner might become angry. It would require enormous effort. But faith often chooses courage. When comfort says, "Give up," the four friends exchanged determined glances. Without another word, they carefully carried the mat toward the outside staircase. Step by step, they climbed. The wooden steps creaked beneath the weight. People below watched in confusion. Where are they going? What are they doing? Whispers spread through the crowd. Curiosity replaced conversation. Soon, they reached the rooftop. The morning breeze swept gently across the clay surface. From above, they could hear the steady voice of Jesus teaching inside the house. He spoke about the kingdom of God, about mercy, about the Father's love. The four men listened for only a moment. Then they looked at one another. This was their chance. Kneeling carefully, they began removing the packed earth from the roof. Their hands dug through the hardened clay. Dust rose into the air. Small stones rolled across the rooftop. Bit by bit, an opening began to appear. Below them, those inside the house suddenly noticed tiny pieces of dirt falling from above. A child pointed toward the ceiling. People looked up. More dust drifted down. A few stepped aside. The room filled with whispers. What is happening? The religious teachers frowned. The owner of the house stared upward in disbelief. Then, a beam of sunlight pierced the ceiling. The opening grew larger. More clay fell away. More branches were lifted aside. Soon, the entire room looked upward in astonishment. Even the disciples paused. Peter exchanged puzzled glances with John. Matthew quietly smiled, wondering what Jesus would do next. Through the growing opening, four determined faces appeared. Their hands gripped the edges of the roof. Carefully, very carefully, they lowered ropes tied securely to each corner of the woven mat. The crowd instinctively stepped backward. Silence spread throughout the room. Every eye followed the slow descent. The paralyzed man looked down. For the first time that morning, he saw Jesus. Not from a distance, not hidden behind a crowd, face to face. The room became completely still. The only sound was the gentle creaking of the ropes. The mat descended lower, until it rested directly before the feet of Jesus. Dust still floated through the rays of sunlight pouring from the opening above. The four friends remained on the rooftop. Their hearts pounded. The crowd held its breath. The religious leaders watched carefully. The disciples waited in silence. Everyone expected Jesus to do one thing, to heal the man. But what Jesus was about to say would astonish every person in that room. Because the greatest miracle that day would begin not with healing, but with forgiveness. As the room fell into complete silence, no one dared to speak. The dust slowly settled through the beams of sunlight, pouring from the opening above. The four faithful friends remained on the rooftop, holding tightly to the ropes, their hearts filled with hope. The paralyzed man lay quietly before Jesus. For years, he had dreamed of this moment, to look into the eyes of the one who had given sight to the blind, strength to the crippled, and hope to the hopeless. Around him, The crowd watched in anticipation. The disciples waited in silence. Even the religious leaders fixed their eyes upon Jesus, eager to see what he would do next. Everyone expected a miracle. Everyone believed Jesus would simply tell the man to rise and walk. But no one in that crowded house could have imagined the words that were about to leave his lips, because the greatest need of this man was not what everyone could see. It was something hidden deep within his heart. In just a few moments, Jesus would reveal a truth that would astonish the crowd, challenge the religious leaders, and forever change the way the world understands forgiveness. Could this teacher from Nazareth truly possess the authority to forgive sins? Could he really be more than a prophet, more than a healer, more than a teacher? The answer was about to shake Capernaum to its very foundations. But that is where our story pauses for today. If this journey through the life and teachings of Jesus has strengthened your faith, take a moment to reflect on this question. What obstacle is keeping you from bringing your own burdens to Christ? Just as those 4 faithful friends refused to give up, may we also have a faith that overcomes every obstacle and trusts that nothing is impossible for God. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the greatest teachings of Jesus. In the next chapter, we will witness one of the most breathtaking moments in the Gospels, as Jesus speaks words that prove his divine authority, not only to heal the body, but to forgive sins. Until then, may the peace of Christ guard your heart. May his word guide your path, and may your faith continue to grow each day. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next chapter.